the differences in the ethnicity of, some of the, I guess, countries in within that empire, like maybe say from Morocco to Egypt to Sudan to Saudi Arabia?
One of the interesting things about Arabs is Arabs aren't there's no one color. One of the things I think when we think of a nation, right? Like if I say Germans, you just white people, right? You're not going to go, oh no, but there's variation. Or if I say Ghana, you're going to think of black people. If I say Mexico has some variation, but certainly you're gonna stereotype and go for a brown population. In the case of Arabs, there's extreme diversity when it comes to skin color. So Sudan, for example, they're Arab, but their skin is very black. They're very dark. In Syria, they're Arab, but their skin is very white. They look like they could be Europeans. And there's everything in between. So Egypt, for example, is a very brown country. It has a large black population as well. In fact, Egypt has had 2 half-black presidents. Its first ever president, Mohammed Najib, he didn't last very long, was half-black. And then Egypt's third president, Anwar Sadat, was half-black. One of the problems with the whole world is colorism is kicked in. And that's not going to be a shock for anybody. So there is colorism that takes place in the Arab world. But if you were to run the clock back, say 500 years ago, that wasn't really much of an issue. So the idea that a person was a white-looking Arab or a black-looking Arab definitely 500 years ago at least wasn't as big a deal as it is today, because today, right, we've got this very strange colorism thing where everybody wants to be European. Except Europeans who go sunbathe and give themselves skin cancer. Nobody's happy with what they are, it seems. Although now, right, Fair and Lovely, I can't say for sure, but I would be nervous putting that on my skin. I wouldn't be surprised if that also gives you skin cancer. I mean, it's changing the color of your skin. How can that be okay? The original Arabs lived in what is today Palestine, Syria, Iraq, but they coexisted with populations that weren't Arab. So, for example, there were Aramaeans, Armenians, Greeks, Romans, Jews, and then if you go all the way down to the Yemen, Oman, at the very southern end, that was the original Arab area. And when I say Jews, I mean the people we ethnically associate as Palestinians that practice Judaism, because they were also Jewish Arabs. So it's complicated, right? Because there's this religious and a national identity at the same time. And that the majority of that population was actually Christian, with a huge pagan population and a very sizable Jewish population. When Islam happened, the Christian population and the pagan population mass converted to Islam at a really fast pace in the Arabian Peninsula. It was much slower in Syria, Palestine, and Iraq. And when the Arabs conquered out their empire, they didn't genocide the populations they conquered. They just simply conquered them and absorbed them into the empire. So if you were to do a DNA test, you would find that Moroccans don't have the same DNA as the Arabs from the Arabian Peninsula, and for that matter, as Egyptians. And that's one of the reasons why you see such huge skin color variation, facial feature variation, straightness of hair, right? Egyptians have curly hair, Sudanese have curly hair, Syrians tend to have straight hair. Like, all that variation is because the Arabs are a multi-nation. They're not a single nation. And as a result, there's huge cultural differences, different ways of eating, different ways of dancing, different ways of dressing. And so in a really strange way, the real thing that connects all the Arabs together is a language.